batteries store electricity for one pair of the station's solar arrays, and the swap will upgrade the station's power supply capability. The batteries will store power generated by the station's solar arrays to provide power to the microgravity laboratory when the station is not in sunlight as it circles Earth during orbital night. The spacewalk today marks the 228th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades, and the first spacewalk for Expedition 63. This will be the 7th spacewalk for Station Commander Chris Cassidy. His 6 previous spacewalks bring his total time to 31 hours and 14 minutes. The spacewalk today will also be the 7th for NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. His previous 6 spacewalks bring his career total time to 37 hours and 33 minutes. Back in the airlock, you've been looking live into the equipment lock section of the Quest airlock, where the crew is suited up, running through some final procedures before venturing out into the vacuum of space this morning. NASA astronaut Doug Hurley on your left is the crew's suit-up lead today, backed up by Russian cosmonaut Ivan Wagner. You can see Chris Cassidy on the right of your screen. He is designated as EV1 today, or Extravehicular Crew Member Number 1, wearing the suit bearing the red stripes, which you can see on his legs at the bottom right side of your screen. And on your left, Bob Behnken, who is designated as EV2 today, or Extravehicular Crew Member Number 2, wearing the suit with no stripes.
3, 2, 1. Begin exercise. And that's the 10th cycle. This will be our last cycle.
The two will be making their way to the far starboard truss of the International Space Station both today and again next Wednesday, July 1st, to replace aging nickel-hydrogen batteries on the first of two power channels for the S6 truss with new lithium-ion batteries and their associated adapter plates. Again, the batteries store power collected from the main solar arrays and distribute it throughout the station. The new lithium-ion batteries that will be involved in the spacewalks today and next Wednesday, and again in the mid-July timeframe, were carried to orbit on the last of the Japanese cargo ship's HTV-9 on a pallet that is currently staged at the end of the space station's robotic arm, so that the batteries and their adapter plates can be removed from the pallet that they were brought to orbit on for installation into the integrated electronics assembly on the S6 truss. So 9 of the 12 older batteries that will be removed from the S6 truss will be put back on that external pallet for later jettisoning. The remaining 3 will remain on orbit due to space limitations. These battery power upgrades began in January of 2017 with a pair of spacewalks for the starboard 4 truss power channels. They continued in March of 2019 with a pair of spacewalks for the port 4 truss power channels, and most recently continued in October of last year with 4 spacewalks to upgrade the power channels on the port 6 truss of the station. Again, today the crew is going all the way to the other end of the truss to begin work to finish these power upgrades. Again, each lithium-ion battery and its associated adapter plate replaces a pair of older nickel-hydrogen batteries for the circuit that is required to complete the power routing through the various systems for the station for each truss segment. So in all, when the work is completed within the next month, 48 older nickel-hydrogen batteries will have been replaced by 24 new lithium-ion batteries. Spacewalk Officer Sandra Moore, for the series of spacewalks that we're beginning today, narrated an overview of what you'll see throughout the spacewalks today when Cassidy and Behnken venture out into the vacuum of space. Let's take a look.
This EVA begins the 1 Bravo power channel upgrade. Chris, wearing the red stripe, egresses first. He sets up their tether anchors away from the airlock to enable them to go farther outboard. Then Bob, wearing the white stripe, grabs his foot restraint and follows outboard. Chris picks up his foot restraint on the CETA cart and heads to the external pallet, or EP. The external pallet is held by the robotic arm and houses the new batteries launched from Japan on HTV-9 in May. Chris sets up his tools and prepares his worksite. Bob translates to the S6 Integrated Electronics Assembly, or IEA, which will be his main worksite throughout the EVA. The IEA houses the batteries and hardware for the 1B solar arrays and power channel. Chris will join Bob and they work together to finish setup. First, battery from slot number 1 is retrieved. The crew needs to release torque with a ratchet, then use the pistol grip tool, or PGT, to complete the release of the bolts. The large battery is removed, and the crew work together to move it over to the EP for disposal. Chris ingresses the foot restraint, and the crew work together to install the battery in empty slot X. Then the arm maneuvers to place Chris in front of the first new battery in slot A. After placing scoops to create handholds, the crew will remove the battery and translate it back to the truss and install in empty slot number 1. Throughout the EVAs, Bob will need to move his foot restraint to reach each battery. Next, the battery in slot 2 is removed and translated over to the pallet. At the EP, Chris is in a foot restraint and places the battery on his BRT, or body restraint tether. Chris will release the adapter plate launched underneath the battery. Like with the batteries, he has to use the ratchet to release the high torque and then the PGT to fully release the bolt. Chris removes the adapter plate to hand to Bob. Bob translates back to the truss to install the adapter plate in open slot 2. At the same time, Chris is putting the old battery in the slot he had just emptied for disposal. Together on the IEA, they made a cable between the adapter plate and the new battery to complete the circuit. With one of the 3 battery pairs complete, they move to slot 3 to remove the next old battery. This battery will be stowed on the adapter plate in slot 2, where it is no longer needed to function. Bob and Chris return to the pallet to retrieve battery B. They repeat the steps to release the bolts, translate back to the truss, and together install in empty slot number 3. At this point, Bob and Chris begin cleanup on the first of the 2 1 Bravo battery channel EVAs. They also prepare for the next EVA, including moving foot restraints, securing tools and bags where they will be needed. Once the worksite is clean, Chris translates from the end of the S6 truss, pausing to reconfigure their safety tethers on the return to the airlock. Bob follows for ingress, completing Power Channel 1 Bravo EVA 1.
So again, the primary tasks for today, as illustrated in that animation, are to remove 3 existing nickel-hydrogen batteries and replace them with 2 new lithium-ion batteries. The batteries store electricity for 1 pair of the station's solar arrays. Cassidy and Hurley will also be installing an adapter plate to complete the circuit to the new batteries and relocating the nickel-hydrogen batteries, 2 of which will be moved to an external platform for future disposal. And back in the Quest airlock, you can see the crew is starting to wrap up its spacewalk preparations, having completed a round of light exercise to purge nitrogen out of their bloodstreams, preventing decompression sickness from occurring once they step out of the airlock a short time from now. Again, in your view now, on the right is NASA astronaut Doug Hurley, and he's the crew's suit-up lead for today, backed up by Russian cosmonaut Ivan Wagner, who is in the left field of view. Back in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, the Orbit 2 team is on console, ready to execute the spacewalk under the direction of Flight Director Royce Renfrew. To his right at the Capcom console is the ground IV for today's spacewalk, Jasmine McBelly, who essentially serves as a spacewalk communicator, talking directly to the 2 spacewalkers from start to finish of the spacewalk today, helping them choreograph the tasks and procedures. And to her right is Capcom, or Capsule Communicator, David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency. You'll hear him communicating with the crew all the way through depressurization this morning. Back in the equipment lock section of the Quest airlock, the crew is suited up, running through some final procedures before venturing out into the vacuum of space this morning. You can see Chris Cassidy on the right of your screen. He is designated as EV1 today, or Extravehicular Crew Member Number 1, wearing the suits bearing the red stripes, which you can see down there on the bottom of your screen on his legs. And on your left, Bob Behnken, who is designated today as EV2, or Extravehicular Crew Member Number 2, wearing the suit with no stripes.
Airlock, we're pausing the in-suit pre-breathe clock at GMT 10:17.
Copy.
And you just heard the voice of NASA astronaut Doug Hurley. Again, he's the crew's suit-up lead for today. He's in the middle of your screen now, backed up by Russian cosmonaut Ivan Wagner toward the bottom left side of your screen.
Houston airlock on 1. The expended MEDOX canisters are temps go to node 1, serial numbers 18 and 22, and they're both capped.
Okay, copy all.
Airlock pre-breathe, in-suit pre-breathe clock restarted at 10:21.
10:21.
is the manual leak check, so check your suit pressure status, please. Okay, let me know when you're stable, 4.2 to 4.4, please. We're complete with the MEDOX flyout change-out procedure, going back to step 15 and 1.225.
Okay, copy and concur. We'll see you back in 1.225.
And that call down you just heard from Doug Hurley. And a response from Capcom, or capsule communicator, David St. Jacques. Again, you'll hear him communicating with the crew all the way through depressurization this morning. And the jetpack now in
Just confirmed, safer 10.15 for EV1.
Yeah, it's affirmative. 1015 for EV1.
And now in Yvonne Wagner's hand is what's called a safer jetpack, while carrying the acronym SAFER for Simplified Aid for EVA Rescue. Spacewalkers wear these backpacks when they venture out as a precaution in the unlikely event that they would become untethered. They could propel themselves back to the safety of the International Space Station. Once those jetpacks are fixed to their spacesuits, Cassidy and Behnken will be moved through the hatchway you see at the top of your screen now. into the crew lock section. The hatch will then be closed behind them, and the final preparations for depressurization of the crew lock will begin from 14.7 pounds per square inch all the way down to vacuum, which will be the final step before the crew conducts final communications and suit checks with the flight control team here in Houston. Doug Hurley and Yvonne Wagner will now work to install that SAFER onto Chris Cassidy's suit. And again, SAFER stands for Simplified Aid for EVA Rescue. Doug Hurley and Yvonne Wagner are now working to fix the Simplified Aid for EVA Rescue, or SAFER by the acronym, on the back of Chris Cassidy's suit. Again, these jetpacks would be used in the highly unlikely event that the spacewalkers would become untethered during the spacewalk, and these jetpacks would give the crew the ability to then propel themselves back to the International Space Station. And these space suits, the extravehicular mobility units, or EMUs, are the suits you see Cassidy and Behnken in now. These suits essentially serve as an independent life support system, providing environmental protection, mobility, and communications for the crew members during their spacewalk. The spacewalk today marks the 228th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades, and the first spacewalk for Expedition 63. This will be the 7th spacewalk for Station Commander Chris Cassidy. His 6 previous spacewalks bring his total time to 31 hours and 14 minutes. The spacewalk today will also be the 7th for NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. His previous 6 spacewalks bring his career total time to 37 hours and 33 minutes. The spacewalk today is the first spacewalk outside the station since January 25th, when Expedition 61 crew members Drew Morgan and Luca Parmitano completed work on the refurbishment and repair to the alpha magnetic spectrometer. The primary tasks for these spacewalkers today are to remove 3 existing nickel-hydrogen batteries and replace them with 2 new lithium-ion batteries. The batteries store electricity for 1 pair of the station's solar arrays. Cassidy and Hurley will also be installing an adapter plate to complete the circuit to the new batteries and relocating the nickel-hydrogen batteries, 2 of which will be moved to an external platform for future disposal. Again, you're looking live into the equipment lock section of the Quest airlock, where the crew is suited up, running through these final procedures, getting their safer jetpacks installed before they venture out into the vacuum of space. NASA astronaut Doug Hurley is the crew's suit-up lead today on your left, backed up by Yvonne Wagner on your right. Everything's still proceeding right on the timeline for the start of today's spacewalk. Doug Hurley and Yvonne Wagner now working to install Bob Behnken's safer jetpack on the back of his suit. And once Bob Behnken's safer jetpack is installed on the back of his suit, he will move through that hatchway into the crew lock section where Chris Cassidy is now. And then depressurization will be done in a two-stage fashion. First, they'll take the crew lock down to 5 pounds per square inch of pressure. They'll pause to do a system check, and then they'll resume the depressurization all the way down to vacuum. Once it reaches vacuum, the two spacewalkers, Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken, will conduct suit checks and communications checks with Mission Control Houston before they place their suits on internal battery power, which will mark the official start of today's spacewalk. Back in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, the Orbit 2 team is on console, ready to execute the spacewalk under the direction of Flight Director Royce Renfrew. To his right at the Capcom console is the ground IV for today's spacewalk, Jasmine Nabelli, who serves as a spacewalk communicator, talking directly to the two spacewalkers from start to finish of the spacewalk today, helping them choreograph the tasks and procedures. And to her right now, talking to the flight director is Capcom, or Capsule Communicator David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency, and again you'll hear him communicating with the crew all the way through depressurization this morning. And you can see Doug Hurley now moving Bob Behnken through the hatchway of the Quest airlock. With Cassidy and Behnken completely through the hatchway now, into the crew lock section of the Quest airlock, the hatch will be closed. The sequence of events now calls for NASA astronaut Doug Hurley to close the hatch, which will isolate Cassidy and Behnken in the crew lock section. Once the crew gets that go from teams here in Mission Control Houston, there will be a period of depressurization of the crew lock from its current 14.7 pounds per square inch all the way down to vacuum. The final communications between Mission Control and final checks of the spacewalkers' suits will be conducted, and the crew will then be given the go to place their suits on internal battery power, which will mark the official start of today's spacewalk. And you can see now Yvonne Wagner is in the process of closing the hatch between the equipment lock and the crew lock section. Cassidy and Behnken will now be isolated before their final minutes of preparations before they begin the 228th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance.
Houston, airlock on 1, and steps 73, 72, and 73 are complete.
Houston copies.
And Houston, you guys have got steps 74 through 76. Concur?
Yeah, concur. We're putting in work. Okay. For EV1, EV2, and airlock, you guys are hot mic'd on Space to Ground 1.
EV1 copies. EV2 copies. Okay, Bob, on the UIA, check the switch depress pump power to off. Okay, the depress pump power is off. Check the depress pump enable LED on. It's on. Houston, your go in step 80.
And airlock Houston, we got about 8 minutes left on our clock here before we can start, but you can go ahead and pick up step 81.
Copy, 8 minutes. And airlock on 1, canisters 12 and 20 are temp stored and removed.
Okay, copy that. Good numbers.
Again, Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken are now isolated in the crew lock section before their final minutes of preparations before they begin the 228th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance. Flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston are all a go so far for the start of depressurization of the crew lock section in the Quest airlock, just about 45 seconds from now.
Houston, on Space to Ground 1. Getting back to Step 80, you are go to perform Step 80. And with that, we're going to turn you over to Jaws and David. You guys have fun today.
Happy go with Step 80. Thanks, Neil. Okay, Bob, we're ready with the crew lock depress. We're going to take the depress pump power switch to on, and then wait 10 seconds, and open the depress pump manual isolation valve. How copy?
Loud and clear, just I'll call depress pump power on, and then you tell me 10 seconds, I'll move the valve.
Plan.
Okay, depress pump power coming on. On.
There's 10 seconds, depress pump manual ISO to open, expect an alert zone, and monitor your suit gauge less than 5.5 psi.
Copy. Valve is open. My seat pressure is rising as expected.
Okay, when crew lock's at 6, expect an alert zone.
Copy. Copy.
Depressurization of the crew lock section of Quest was officially underway at 6 a.m. Central Time. The depressurization of the crew lock section will be done in a two-stage fashion. First, they'll take the crew lock down to 5 pounds per square inch of pressure. They'll pause to do a systems check, and then they'll resume depressurization all the way down to vacuum. Once it reaches vacuum, the two spacewalkers will conduct suit checks, communications checks with Mission Control here in Houston before they place their suits on internal battery power to officially mark the start of today's spacewalk. A U.S. spacewalk start and end time is measured from the time the crew places their suits on internal battery power and time of repressurization when they're back inside the crew lock once they've completed their spacewalk tasks for the day. Just under 4 minutes until the crew lock section is down to 5 pounds per square inch of pressure. Again, they'll pause to do a systems check, and then they'll resume depressurization all the way down to vacuum. Coming up on 6 pounds per square inch now. Again, they're waiting until it gets down to 5 pounds per square inch.
5, you'll be taking the depress pump and manual isolation valve to close, and I'll back you up on that call as well from the inside. Copy.
Here's my tone at 6, as expected, a little behind, behind you. 0.3 like it was before. Yep.
Copy. You should be getting close, Bob.
I'm showing 5.1. 5.0.
Okay, we heard the valve. Okay, on both of your DCMs, move your status until you get leak check displayed.
Check display. ED1, leak check displayed as well.
Copy. Check your O2 actuators to EDA. That's a check.
I think we got to get in the leak first. Yeah, follow the instructions.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry about that.
So we want the long yes now. Long yes.
Hold for 2 seconds.
Less than a minute. V2 as well. EV1 leak check complete. EV2 leak check complete.
Copy, EV1 and EV2. Check your O2 actuators are in EDA.
On there now, EV1. EV1. O2 actuator and EVA.
EV1.
EV2 is an EVA.
Copy, EV2 and EVA. Okay, next step for you, Bob, depress pump manual ISO valve to open. Expect an alert tone.
Depress pump manual isolation valve coming open.
Okay, gents, emergency MPEV is open. You can go ahead and do your tether checks now.
Alright, copy. Bob. Start from structure? Yep, starting from structure. Okay, I've got the airlock waist tether closed and locked on the airlock D-ring extender. That large hook from the airlock waist tether is closed and locked onto my left waist tether. Hook on my left waist tether, the large one is closed and locked, and the small one is closed and locked on my D-ring extender on my left side. My red hook is closed and locked onto my D-ring extender. Green hook is attached to the red reel. Yellow hook is closed and locked onto the green reel. Then I see that hook, that green reel is closed and locked onto your red hook. Okay? And both reels are verified unlocked. Okay, that picking up your hook that you just confirmed. It is closed and locked on my red reel. The red reel, my red crew hook is closed and locked on my left D-ring extender. That completes our current load path. Back on my two reels, red Urchin body has a yellow hook, large yellow hook closed and locked on the green Urchin body. The green crew hook is back onto the red reel. It happens to be locked also. And the large white hook on the green reel is temp stowed on my mini workstation. Both of the Urchins in an unlocked reel position. I've got a dry hat, and I've been looking at my gloves for a while, and they're pristine. I also have a dry hat, and the gloves are pristine.
Copy all.
Coming up on 2 PSI.
Copy, concur. When you get to 2, you'll take the depress pump manual ISO valve to close. 6.0 coming closed. Thanks. And once you get it closed, take the depress pump power switch on the UIA to off. Depress pump power is off. Okay, we talked about tethers. The crew lock DPDT gets to about 0, expect an alert tone. And then when ED hatch delta P is less than 0.5, you can open and stow the ED hatch.
Copy all. About just for completeness on my right, E-ray extender.
And we're in a quick handover between satellites right now, but we should be regaining those communications here shortly.
Station on one for the airlock, we just had a handover. Can you repeat your last?
Hello, Debbie. I was just completing the final tether hook check, and that was on my right E-ring extender. I have a closed and locked small hook in my waist tether, and my waist tether big hook is 10 stone on my mini workstation.
Okay. Copy all. Good config. Thanks.
Enough room, Chris? I think so. Hatch gauge, hovering right on 1. Is my SCU interfering with your crew lock bag area? That's good. Good. That's why I took the bag before you stowed I got it out from underneath the SCU, so I've got access to it. Okay.
Doug Hurley and Yvonne Wagner in the equipment lock section of Quest, monitoring the depressurization across the hatchway of the crew lock section where Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken are right now.
Copy. It's showing about 10 millimeters here before you should get to 0.5. It is slow as you briefed.
About moving into position. Okay. It looks like about 0.5. Better angle. Yep. Doug, I'm going for the hatch.
Copy.
Like daytime.
Okay, the emergency MPEP is closed, and with that, Jaws, we're handing it over to you. Good luck, guys. Have fun.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Doug and Yvonne. Thanks for your work getting us set up so well. Got us right on timeline. We appreciate it. Chris and Bob, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, with that, we'll step into the post-depress. Staggering your switch throws, switch power to bat. Expect a warning tone.
V1 power back. Power back.
Both of you check your display switches are functional.
V1 display functional. No bright light. EDT display functional, no bright light.
Bob, on the UIA, you'll switch power EV1 and 2 to off.
EV1 and EV2 power are off.
Okay, you'll check the 4 LEDs, power EV1 and 2 are off.
Fired off.
Okay, both of you can disconnect your SCUs from the DCM, install the DCM cover, and stow the SCU in the pouch.
Good work. Complete for EDT. EV1 complete as well.
Okay, Bob, on the crew lock, check the depress pump man ISO valve is closed.
Depress pump man ISO valve is closed.
Both of you can take your temperature control valves to max hot.
Max hot EV1. Max hot EV2. It's going down, Bob.
You can both switch water on.
Water on EV1.
Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken have officially placed their suits on internal battery power, marking the official start of today's spacewalk at 6:32 a.m. Central Time. This will be the first in a series of spacewalks to complete the upgrades to the Starboard 6 truss power system on the International Space Station.
Valves to the desired position. Please let us know what they are.
Alright, EV1. And EV2 set to 5 as well.
Copy. Check your suit pressure gauges and report.
4.3 EV1. 4.2 EV2.
Copy. 4.3 and 4.2. You can set your visors as required. It's just the beginning of a night pass now.
You got it.
Okay, with that, Chris, if the thermal cover isn't open, you're good to open it and egress the airlock with your medium ORU bag.
Thermal cover is open.
And we have confirmation the thermal cover is now open.
I think you're going to need 2 waste tethers back to get to APFR, but right here. Yes. Yeah. All right. Going in. Going around, going.
And you can see on the right side of your screen, Chris Cassidy is now coming outside the hatch.
Your wrist there. Yeah.
Cassidy will be the first out of the hatch this morning, followed by Bob Behnken. Again, Cassidy as EV1 in the suit bearing the red stripes, and Behnken EV2 in the suit bearing no stripes. Once the crew gets outside to their respective work sites, we'll begin getting helmet camera views. Another way to distinguish the spacewalkers will be through those helmet camera numbers. Cassidy will have helmet camera number 18, and Behnken will have helmet camera number 20.
Did you catch if it was starboard or port? Or sorry, was it your left or right wrist mirror?
There's my left wrist mirror. That's stationator.
Copy, left wrist mirror, stationator.
Okay, moving on. Manual isolation valve is down, and my liquid deploy handle is down.
Chris, do you know about how fast that wrist mirror was moving?
Maybe a foot per second.
Copy, 1 foot per second. Okay, Chris, and we didn't copy all your self-checks. If you can just get us those.
Green light is on. Which one are you missing? Jazz, which step you're missing?
And Chris, we didn't copy both your safer handles. Can you just confirm your safer handles are both down?
It's affirmative. The deploy handle is down. The manual isolation valve. And then 3410 is on.
Okay, firm 3410.
Going back squarely.
And Charles, I have a go to egress the airlock.
Okay, firm Bob, you have a go to egress. And you'll be bringing the crew lock bag with you, and that'll be going to the airlock with 11.
I have the crew lock bag with me.
And Bob Behnken now making his way into the vacuum of space.
Arrived at the APFR.
Copy, Bob, and we'll take self-checks from you as well when able.
Josh, was there anything else you missed on the steering on the self-check?
We'll want the tab once you get to the safety tether location. And for
On phase 1, moving starboard.
I can verify my right safer handle is down. And my left safer handle is down. And my green light is on. Do you need any of my tether configuration, Jaws?
we'll take your tabs. We don't need tethers. And I have
My left tab is down.
copy.
Left tab is up. And my right tab.
As Chris Cassidy was exiting the airlock, his wrist mirror floated away, and there's no risk to the crew. They're still proceeding with procedures.
Our T tab is up as well.
Copy. Good check,
Right
Bob.
at the first seat. That's in the first seat of it.
Copy. And I have a caution for both of you. Avoid contact with deployed tusk cable, zenith and nadir CETA rails. How copy?
Copy EV1.
Copy EV2.
Okay, Bob, you'll be bundling the crew lock bag to that APFR and airlock with 11. And Chris, let me know when you get to the outboard CETA card and I can give you the handrail numbers.
Okay, copy, Jess. Okay, I'm underneath the outboard card. I'm looking at 3061 as a handrail.
Okay, Chris, that's where you'll drop your anchor hook.
My anchor hook is closed, slider in the lock position, double checking. Rails are unlocked.
Copy, good config.
3V1.
And just beside that, you'll see handrail 3060. You'll attach Bob's anchor hook there.
Copy all.
Okay, the crew lock bag is bundled to the APFR.
Copy that, Bob. You'll retrieve the bundle with the APFR. You'll leave the whiff extender there.
Copy.
And tethered Bob's hook. Breaking packs up. E060 has Bob's anchor point closed and locked.
Copy that. Good.
Bob concurs. You're free to unlock your waste tether.
Copy.
Affirm, we
And
concur.
draws the BRT. It's closed on the APFR, and it is tethered as well.
Copy, Bob. And Bob, if you can just check your reel is unlocked, you are go to release your waste tether from the airlock waste tether and close the hatch thermal cover.
Copy. Okay, the APFR is on my BRT.
Copy. And Chris, you'll be translating on that CETA cart to WIF 5 and bundling your ORU bag to the APFR and retrieving it.
Okay, it'll work. And Bob, I'm on the seat.
Copy. You also verified unlock jaws.
Copy, Bob.
Just over 15 minutes into the spacewalk today, again the first in a series of spacewalks to complete the upgrades to the starboard 6 truss power system on the International Space Station. Again, the two spacewalkers will be making their way to the far starboard truss of the International Space Station both today and again next Wednesday, July 1st, to replace aging nickel-hydrogen batteries on the first of two power channels for the S6 truss with new lithium-ion batteries and their associated adapter plates. You'll hear the acronym APFR today, which stands for the Articulating Portable Foot Restraints the crews will be using to restrain their feet at their respective work sites.
Cover is closed.
Copy, thermal cover
We'll
closed.
We'll head to the Theta spur.
Okay, Bob, copy that. As you get to the top of the Theta spur, you'll release your Richmond fair lead. And for both of you, we're already ahead of the timeline, and net rates are high, so you could slow down a bit.
Copy.
Okay, and for that caution, avoid contact with deployed radiators. How copy?
EV1 copies.
EDT copies.
And we're getting helmet camera views. Of course, this one number 18 from Chris Cassidy.
I'll have you check your gauntlets in place and check your 3 tabs as well, please.
Okay, you bet. That was a great time. So both gauntlets are in place and tab checking in work.
Copy.
First order of business for Chris Cassidy this morning will be to set up their tether anchors away from the airlock to enable them to go farther outboard. Cassidy will then head to the external pallet, or EP. The external pallet is held by the robotic arm and houses the new batteries launched from Japan on HTV-9 in May.
BRT tab up and 2 mini workstation tabs are also up. All 3 tabs up.
Copy, Chris. Good config. With that, you can translate to handrail 2004 just past S6 when you get to S6.
2004, copy that.
Another acronym you'll hear throughout the day is BRT, which stands for Body Restraint Tether.
What did he ask for?
Charles has arrived at the 3410. We'll release just the trans fair lead and leave the adjustable here.
Affirm, Bob.
It's complete. I've reached the forward face of S0.
Copy, Bob. And Bob, you'll be heading all the way outboard on S6, and as you approach the Sarge, if I can just get a check for gauntlets in place.
I got the APFR out, but just as a note, it was, release mechanism was a little key.
Copy that, Chris.
Alright. Moving out from Cedar Cart and heading outward. Bob, where are you at? I am at the Cedar Cart. Copy that.
Hey Chris, I'm coming up the second Cedar Cart.
Copy that.
And Chris, reminder for you, you're going to handle 2004 for your green hook, and Bob will take a gauntlet check prior to crossing the Sarge.
004.
Both of my gauntlets are covering my arms.
Copy, Bob.
I'm at 2004.
Okay, Chris, you'll drop your green hook there.
See that green hook coming here.
And just a heads up for both of you, once you install your APFR, we're going to take a break for a couple minutes.
EDT copies, EV1 copies. Green hook is code, and it's also locked on 2004.
Copy your green hook down at 2004, Chris. You'll be installing the APFR into WIF 4 with a clocking of 6.
4, clocking 6. Okay, you want to... I'll just hop up here, Bob, and we can...
No, I'll pause here if Giles is okay with that.
Oh, okay. Giles, Bob's right here next to me. I'm going to put this APFR in.
Okay, copy. Per second translation speed. Wait until pallet motion dampens out before imparting any loads. How copy?
You copy.
EDT copy.
Tom is a little garbled. Me? Do you hear the same thing, Bob?
No, the comm is okay for me.
And Chris, are you hearing Bob fine? Is it just me that's garbled?
No, it was just you on that last transmission. Now you're fine.
Okay, great.
EV1 is in 7 for cooling.
Copy, Chris.
Now 30 minutes into today's spacewalk, recapping the milestones so far, Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken placed their suits on internal battery power, marking the official start of today's spacewalk at 6:32 a.m. Central Time. Chris Cassidy's mirror on his left wrist became detached on his way out of the hatch, and there was no risk to the crew. The dimensions of that wrist mirror are 5 by 3 by 0.75 inches with a mass of 1/10 of a pound. Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken are now headed to their respective work sites to begin prep activities.
Okay, guys, we're just going to hang on a few more minutes here.
Copy.
Again, we'll continue to get these helmet camera views. This one now, number 20 from Bob Behnken.
Bob, in about 6 minutes when the sun comes up, you should be able to get some good pictures of your ride.
We hope to let the fishnet camera out here. Maybe get some on the way over to the IEA, Chris?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I'm getting the bagel organized up there.
Thanks. If you see any other good opportunities, let us know.
Will do. Okay, guys, great job. We're going to pick back up slowly. So, Bob, you can continue outboard, and Chris, you can complete the Fox 12 settings on the APFR.
All right, let me get out of Bob's way. One high, Bob, you can go under. Okay. Room. Box 12's complete.
Copy, Chris. And can you just confirm the pitch knob has popped out?
It is. I'll put another set of eyes on it. Just confirmed, popped out in the locked position.
Copy, thanks, Chris. You can retrieve your RU bag from the APFR, and you have a go to translate onto the external pallet.
All right, copy that.
Bob, for you, as you get outboard, you're looking for handrail 2076 or 2075, your preference for your green hook.
Copy 2076 or 2075.
Good words.
My green hook on 2076.
Copy 2076. Bob, you can translate to width 30. You'll be
With 30.
A firm. And the clocking for the APFR is 12.
Thank you, 12. Transitioning to the pallet.
Copy, Chris. You're looking for handrail 7325. It's adjacent to battery alpha. You'll stow the ORU bag there.
Okay. $73.25.
You should be coming up on the coast of California soon. If you look south, you might see Hawthorne.
Cool.
Chris,
Does the APFR is installed in width?
40 minutes into the spacewalk today and recapping some of those milestones so far, Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken placed their suits on internal battery power, marking the official start of today's spacewalk at 6:32 a.m. Central Time.
remaining settings are 5.
Chris Cassidy's mirror on his left wrist became detached on his way out of the hatch, and there was no risk to the crew. The dimensions of that wrist mirror are 5 by 3 by 0.75 inches, with a mass of 1/10 of a pound. Cassidy will still be able to use the mirror on his right wrist for the duration of the spacewalk today. The primary reason the crew wears mirrors on their wrist is to allow the crew to see switches, actuators, and labeling on the front of the suit that is typically out of their view. Labeling is, of course, written in mirror image because it's intended to be read via the mirror. Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken are now headed to the work site to begin prep activities. And this view now from Chris Cassidy's helmet camera number 18.
Foxtrot 12 is set on the APFR.
Copy, Bob. You can grab your crew lock bag from the APFR and head up towards the radiator side.
The spacewalkers today will be removing existing nickel-hydrogen batteries and replacing them with new lithium-ion batteries that arrived on a Japanese cargo ship last month. These batteries store electricity for one pair of the station's solar arrays, and then the swap will upgrade the station's power supply capability. The batteries store power generated by the station's solar arrays to provide power to the microgravity laboratory when the station is not in sunlight as it circles Earth during orbital night.
Okay,
Doing great. Just working on those tools. Got a good view of you. Were you going to say something?
negative.
Okay.
Bob, I see you heading up towards the radiator side. You're looking for handrails 2049 and 2054.
Yeah, I've arrived at 2054.
Copy. And just a reminder, you want the crew lock bag handrail towards the radiator, and you want to make sure the adjustable equipment tether is inboard of the gap spinner that you're going to deploy on handrail 2054.
Okay. The crew lock bag is tethered to 2049.
Copy.
Okay, Jaws, I don't know if you can see my WVS or not. I want to make sure you're happy with that crew lock bag configuration. But
Affirm, Bob.
the tether is inboard of okay.
Looks good. You can go ahead and start working the gap spanner chain, and that will start from handrail 2054 on the radiator side.
Okay, copy.
And just a reminder as you do this to make sure you don't trap your safety tether.
Thank you. Like we talked about in the briefing yesterday, I'm going to put a couple of scoops out first.
Copy. Sounds good. And Bob, did you want to go to battery 1 first?
I'd like to go to battery 3 first.
Okay, copy. Let me know when you're ready for the clockings.
Okay, H2 on battery 3.
will be 9 o'clock, so straight down.
Hey, Josh, I have camera, GoPro, flash bag on me, EDT, and also the ratchet wrench tended outside.
Okay, Chris, you can head back to the IAA to help with the scoops and gap spanners.
Roger that. And work.
The scoop is installed on H2 at 9 o'clock with the doghouse on the top, which is the handle straight down.
Okay, Bob, and for H1 on battery 3, they'll be going to the 10 o'clock, so down and slightly to the left.
Copy. On H1, I've installed it at 10 o'clock, so down and slightly to the left.
Copy, Bob. Let me know which battery you'd like to do next.
Okay, I think at this point, with these two scoops and ingress aid, the way I've deployed it, we can work on the gap spanner.
Okay, copy that, Bob. So you're going from handrail 2054 on the radiator side.
The 2054 on the radiator side.
Good words.
All right, I'm off the pallet and on structure.
Copy that, Chris.
Josh, I'm actually going to leave the GoPro camera right here in Bob's future happy place.
Okay.
On handrail 2005, which is adjacent to the APFR.
Copy handrail 2005.
Hey guys, I've got the gap spanner deployed to handrail 2054. It's the wire tie end of the gap spanner chain.
Copy, Bob. The other end will be going to handrail 2012.
Copy.
All right, Bob, finally heading your way.
Sounds good.
And Chris, if you wanted to start with the gap spanner, the non-radiator side handrail is handrail 2010.
2010. Copy. Nice timing, that's exactly where I am. spanner is on 2010, the same handrail as gap spanner.
Copy, handrail 2010 for the camera.
And on the gap spanner.
Hey, Jaws, the gap spanner is installed. The handrail 2012.
Okay, Bob, we'll check, do a tension gap spanner check, and tension it down, and then turn the buckle 180 degrees to ensure slack. And Bob, for your essay, we've lost your WVS video.
Okay, copy.
If you could just check
the gap spanner chain down. Okay, let me get to this gap spanner being snugged up, and then I'll that if that's okay.
That's good with us, thanks.
Okay, Bob, working my way up to the radiator side.
Copy.
Okay, Chris, you're going to handrail 2043 on the radiator side, and reminder to make sure you don't trap either of you or Bob's safety tethers.
2043. Copy. Copy the warning.
Okay, I've switched the gap spanner up reasonably well. The translation on it loosens it back up, but it is looser than our quarter turn jaws. I'll get my WVS cycled here for you.
Copy, Bob. And Bob, it should be a full 180 degree turn.
Okay, copy. It's a little bit looser than that, but I really can't snug it much more.
Copy, Bob.
All right, 2043 has my radiator end deployed, and I'm working on the same tensioning steps.
Copy, Chris. And Bob, we see your camera.
Look like the green light's on. I cycled it. I don't think it was on when I cycled it, but it was hard to tell in the sunlight here.
Okay, we see it. Thanks.
So for me, my next jaws will be more scoops or the PGT, I think. Is that right?
Okay, yeah, A-firm. So before you do the PGT, you'll need to get the scoop to battery 4.
All right, one full 180 degree turn on the buckle.
Copy, Chris. And if you want to...
A little loose, like Bob was saying, but...
Yeah, I think we've heard that from the previous ones as well. And I don't know if it would help you to deconflict, Bob, if you went to battery 1 and Chris went to battery 4 and the DCSU, but up to you.
That works.
Okay. H2 on battery 1.
H2 on battery 1 will be at the 3 o'clock, which is straight down.
That's complete. H2, 3 o'clock, straight, verified, locked.
Copy, Bob. For H1 on battery 1, you'll be going to 2 o'clock, which is down and slightly to the right.
Copy. You've got scoops as well, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
if that makes sense. I can, I'm right here at battery 4.
Yeah, Chris, if you want to do battery 4 that way, Bob can, as he sets up his PGT, stow it there.
Okay.
So you'd be going to H2 on battery 4. Let me know when you're ready for the clocking.
H2 on battery 4. Ready for that clocking.
It'll be 9 o'clock, which is straight down.
And the acronym PGT, which you just heard, stands for Pistol Grip Tool, and that will be used to help the crew release the bolts during some of their procedures today. Now 1 hour into the spacewalk today, recapping some of the milestones so far. Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken placed their suits on internal battery power, marking the official start of today's spacewalk at 6:32 a.m. Central Time. Chris Cassidy's mirror on his left wrist became detached on his way out of the hatch, and there was no risk to the crew. The dimensions of that wrist mirror are 5 by 3 by 0.75 inches with a mass of 1/10 of a pound. Cassidy will still be able to use the mirror on his right wrist for the duration of the spacewalk. Again, the primary reason for the crew to wear those mirrors on their wrists is to allow them to see the switches, actuators, and labeling on the front of their suit that is out of their view. Of course, the labeling is written in mirror image because it's intended to be read via mirror. Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken have now arrived at their work sites to begin setting up. Just for size reference on the batteries and adapter plates the crew will be handling today, the adapter plate is 40 inches by 37 inches by 8 inches with a mass of 75 pounds. The aging nickel hydrogen batteries being replaced are 40 inches by 37 inches by 19 inches with a mass of 364 pounds. And the new lithium-ion batteries being installed today are 40 inches by 37 inches by 19 inches with a mass of 428 pounds.
I'm going to put this right angle, so it'd be 9-inch head on to my PGT.
Okay, copy. Alright, Jazz, DCSU.
You're going to H1 at 2 o'clock, which is down and slightly to the right.
Down and slightly to the right, I'm on H1 of the DCSU. 2 o'clock, it's in the locked position, good wiggle test, scoop is installed.
Copy that, Chris. So we've got all our scoops installed. And Chris, if you want to hang out by the H2 scoop of battery 4, once Bob configures his PGT, he can hand off the adjustable equipment tether for you to stow it on that.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, I can pass you the PGT. And you're going to cut it there, and then I'll move my right swing arm tether to the cool-off bag.
Okay, the PGT is adjustable. It's hooked to battery 4.
Copy, and Bob, you may have said it, but I didn't catch it. You've got the red series going back to the Kulak bag and a good pull test on the hex driver?
Good pull test on the hex driver, and I am moving, tethering the PGT red series to the Kulak bag at this time.
Copy.
Copy.
That's complete. I'm going to go ahead and close up the Kulak bag, everything but the ratchet wrench, I think.
Okay.
You can get it. I got it. Put your wrenches out.
And Charles and I heading to the APFR?
Yeah, we'll take a glove, hat, and gauntlet check from both of you first, and then A from Bob, you're checking the gap spanners clear of slot 1, and then ingressing the APFR.
EP1, gauntlets in place, top is dry, gloves, same as egress.
And Chris, since that mirror got knocked off, we just want to make sure you check that hand extra carefully in case there was something that caught on it to cause that.
Yeah, I had done that a while ago, but it's good to double check and now that it's sunlight, because it was dark when I did it before, and no evidence of a red damage or anything like that. All nominal.
Copy. Good checks, Chris. And Bob will take your checks, and Chris, your positioning where you've got the ratchet wrench and in a good position to assist Bob with battery 1.
Okay, and work.
Yeah, I've got a good glove check. Also look at a little bit of like smudging, so nothing significant. Also in good check. App is in the same state that it was when I left the airlock, and both of my gauntlets are up.
Copy that, Bob. If that gap spanner's clear, you are go to ingress APFR. And while you work that, I've got a caution for both of you. Once torque is broken on an H-bolt, do not impart loads into the corresponding microsquare. How copy?
1 copies.
2 copies.
Another acronym you'll hear throughout the day is HAP, H-A-P. The HAP is the acronym for the Helmet Absorption Pad, which was installed in all spacewalking helmets in the wake of a water intrusion in the helmet of Luca Parmitano in 2014. The installation of the Helmet Absorption Pad, or HAP by the acronym, is intended to absorb water in the case that it has migrated to the back of a crew member's helmet.
H2 side, if you don't mind me doing that one, otherwise I'll wait for Bob. Need that order.
We need H1 first.
Yep, then that's for Bob to do.
Copy.
Just for brake and torque, you need the order?
I'm being told to affirm we need to go in order, even braking torque.
Copy that. No problem.
I've ingressed the APFR, and we'll brake torque on H1.
Okay, Bob, if we can get you to just make sure your ingress aid is tucked, tethers are clear, and get the serial number off that battery.
I can read it right here. 0075.
Copy, good serial number.
That's a little step. You need it to suck back.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and tether to the battery. We have that taken care of.
And
That's all.
no, sorry, I saw you right after I was about to say something, so.
And we've reached one of the main milestones in the spacewalk today, one of the many milestones. The battery from slot number 1 is being retrieved. The crew will release torque with the ratchet and then use the pistol grip tool, or PGT, to complete the release of the bolts.
Torque is worked.
Okay, you can hand that ratchet wrench back to
Maybe a
Chris.
quarter. Has it?
And swap for Chris's PGT with the 6-inch.
And now the pistol grip tool, or PGT, will be used to complete the release of these bolts.
Settings are alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
I'm sorry, I should have counted for you.
Alpha 7, counter 2. Jump to Alpha 7, counter 2.
Copy, you'll be going to H1, confirm socket tape lines flush to the scoop, and looking for approximately 8 turns.
Socket tape line is flush. Verified counter 2. 8 turns. Indicators moving. Okay, so about 6.5 turns, the indicator started popping, indicating it was fully unlocked. Gave it the full 8 turns.
And Bob, can we get you to do the full 8 turns?
I'm sorry, guys. I did do the full 8 turns, but at 6.5, started to pop, indicating unlocked, so the indicator started to jitter.
Copy, thanks, Bob. Okay, same settings, alpha 7, counter 2 for H2, and confirm the socket tape line is flush, looking for approximately 19 turns.
The socket tape line is flush. And understand that 18 turns, Seth?
19 turns.
19 turns, copy. With this.
See the battery rising?
Yeah. There's 19 turns. Got the PGT. Got it.
And status indicators unlocked, Bob?
Status indicator is unlocked. There's a right there at about 17.
Copy. Okay, I see you've handed the PGT back to Chris. Once Chris is in a good position to receive the battery, you can unlock the red and remove the battery.
Sun going down.
And Chris, for you, just a reminder to check that you're not local tethered on the outboard gap spanner and all your fair leads are released.
No fair leads this time, and I am not tethered on the gap spanner. Get myself situated here, Bob. Local tether to a handrail. And I am ready. I'm all the way down on the lower edge, Bob. I think we can make it to reach.
And Jaws, remind me which...
You're handing off H1 to Chris.
H1.
Have a rep. Have control.
You have control of the battery, and I'm going to release my rep and egress the APFR.
Copy that. Got that APFR right in the middle.
Yeah.
Trying to get it to
I have control of the battery.
you. Have control. I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. We've got the pin side out.
Inside out.
And the first nickel hydrogen battery has been released. The crew will now work together to move it over to the external pallet for disposal.
While you're translating.
I think I'd rather you hold on just a minute.
Copy.
I've got the battery. You have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. That's too far. I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. I have control of the battery.
You have control. I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. And move over one more handle.
Okay, copy.
I have control of the battery.
You have control. Move one more.
Again, the first nickel hydrogen battery has been released. The crew is now working together to move it over to the external pallet for disposal.
I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. You have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery.
Chris, a reminder as you get there that if you want to stow your trash bag in the medium or U bag, you can do so before you ingress APFR.
Okay, copy, Jonas. This will just be a short hop, Bob, and then I'll go to the other side.
Okay.
I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. You have control of the battery.
You have control. Why don't we take the second to switch to your red?
Okay.
I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. I have a rep to the battery.
Copy.
I have control of the battery.
And you have control. Moving my red. Okay, my red is off. You have control. I'm moving. Only what you have the ability to get to your handoff position, or if we need a little one to set you up.
I need to move one more handle.
Yes, copy that. I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery, and I'm going to go ahead and put my EDT I have the battery.
Got the battery. That. I'm going to ingress the APFR. Good yaw. Got to look locked, Bob. Good yaw.
It does look locked in the
Yeah, feel in.
Okay, Chris, we'll have you check your ingress aids tucked, tethers are clear, and end state. As Bob hands it off, you want H1 in your left hand, Chris, with you ready to H1.
Okay, setting up for the transfer. All right, Bob?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Let's see here. I'm ready. I have control.
Remove my rep.
And while you do that, I have 3 cautions I'm going to read before handover. Crew must not simultaneously impart loads into the external pallet. When SSRMS brakes are off, free float crew member on EP must remain quiescent. Do not exceed 20 pounds forestern or use soft dock. Engage, disengage with pallet. How copy?
Copy all.
And Chris, you've got good access to your tools?
It's a little far over there to the left, but for right now, I'll just get this battery solved. I've got my PGT here.
Yeah, Chris, you'll only need your PGT for this one.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a handoff here soon, but you're looking to soft dock the battery into slot X with H2 outboard.
H2 is outboard. Looks like a lot of... There we go.
With the battery from slot number 1 now retrieved, the crew has worked together to move it over to the external pallet for disposal. Cassidy is now working to ingress the foot restraint, and the two will work together to install the battery in empty slot X. We're in a short handover between satellites right now, but should be regaining communications here shortly.
The interface looks good. If anything, it looks a little bit like the H1 side is pushed in a little bit.
Yeah. That squared up right there.
It did square it up some when I saw you decrease the distance between the connectors on the H2 side. Yeah. It's real soft dock.
Really? Yeah, I think that is right there. Not a huge confirmation feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chris and Bob, I'm back with you after the handover. Let me know when you're ready for PGT settings.
Okay, I'm ready for PGT settings.
Alpha 7, clockwise 2.
11, clockwise 2 is set.
Copy, you'll be going to the H2 scoop. Confirm the socket tape line is flush, and you're driving a torque 16 to 17 turns.
Okay, the socket tape line is flush. Driving, I see the indicator moving. Battery is moving in. Turns, 9.5 foot-pounds, green torquing light, and the indicator shows locked.
Copy, Chris. That's a good install. You can stow your PGT, and then we'll take a glove, hap, and gauntlet check from both of you.
You can go first, Bob, while I get myself muted.
Okay, my hap is still baseline. My right glove looks pristine. And my left glove has got a little bit of a smudging as before, but otherwise pristine, and both gauntlets are up.
Copy, good checks, Bob.
And TV1.
Copy, good checks, Bob.
TV1, hap, dry, gauntlets in place. And gloves are pristine. I also have a little bit of black smudging, Bob mentioned.
Copy that, Chris.
With that, I'm going to remove my rep. Actually, I'm taking these scoops with me, so...
Hey, firm, you're taking the scoops with you, so you can leave the red on. So you can leave the red on.
Okay, both scoops removed.
Copy that, Chris. If you can check that your ingress aid and tethers are clear, you can give SSRMS a go to the published EPA alpha position.
Okay, Doug, radio check.
I'm clear, Chris.
All right, I am clear, tethers clear. Bob can double check me.
I verify you're clear.
And you have a go to your published position, Doug.
Okay, copy. We'll put over to work site alpha in work. I'll look down at the GoPro, Chris. A bunch of scoops on your front.
Now an hour and 33 minutes into today's spacewalk, recapping some of the milestones so far today. Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken placed their suits on internal battery power, marking the official start of today's spacewalk at 6:32 a.m. Central Time. The first nickel hydrogen battery was released, and the crew worked together to move it over to the external pallet for disposal. And just a few minutes ago, the battery from slot number 1 was installed in slot X on the external pallet for disposal.
Good motion.
Doug Hurley now at the controls of the robotic arm, and the arm will maneuver to place Cassidy in front of the first new battery in slot A. Again, there's NASA astronaut Doug Hurley at the controls of the robotic arm.
And we're about to enter our night pass.
Truss.
Again, the robotic arm is now being maneuvered to place Chris Cassidy in front of the first new battery in slot A. After placing scoops to create handholds, the crew will remove the battery and translate it back to the truss to install it in empty slot number 1.
Okay, let's hold that for a second. You can, actually, you know what, before you do your brakes, I think it's going to be low for my, GT. Can you come up by, pallet up towards my head, 15 centimeters.
Okay, copy. Pallet. Zenith, 15 centimeters. Maneuver.
That's a begin GCA.
Copy, begin GCA. Here comes the maneuver. That was 15.
Stop there, NGCA, thank you very much.
NGCA.
All right, Jaws. Oops.
And I didn't catch it. Are brakes on?
Brakes are off.
Okay, copy. So, Chris, for H1, we'll be going to the 2 o'clock. That's down and slightly to the right.
All right, copy that. Confirmed locked. H1, 2 o'clock, down slightly to the right.
Okay, for H2, you'll be going to 3 o'clock, which is straight down, and you'll stay redded to that scoop.
Copy. H2 coming straight down. Keep no rep. Confirmed locked. H2, 9 o'clock straight down. Or 3 o'clock straight down.
Copy. And can we get the serial number on that battery?
0025.
All right, good serial number. You can break out your PGT. It'll be Alpha 7 Counter 2.
Alpha 7. Counterclockwise 2 is set.
Copy. And Chris, can you confirm your red is still on H2, correct?
It is not. Check jaws, perfect. Ready. Tape is seated. The head of H1, and I'm waiting on your go.
And Chris, H1 is actually already released, so we'll be going to H2. Confirm the socket tape line is flush. I'm looking for 19 turns.
19 turns. Tape line is flush. 19 turns, here we go, H2.
I see the battery moving out from the pallet.
Copy. It's 10 for 19. Same as Bob, I got the hop at around 17. Went to the full 19, indicator is in unlocked position.
Copy, Chris, good release. You can stow the PGT. And end state, as you hand this off to Bob, you're going to want to hand off H1 to Bob, and Bob, you'll end up redded to H1 in the red swap.
Next step.
Available. EDT stowed. Alright, Bob, confirm you're ready.
I am ready.
Pulling it out, presenting H1 to you. I have the ret right now. Coming out.
You're clear. Just come down. If you could stay ready to it.
I'm ready to it.
Okay.
I have control, I have a ret.
Okay. I have a red as well. I have control now.
You have control, you have the ret. Removing my ret.
Okay, with that, Chris, you can egress the APFR and start heading back to the IEA.
Alright, copy that.
I'm going to let you egress, and if you take the inboard route, we'll work together to rotate the battery just to make sure we keep the fins safe as we get past this APFR and get the fins pointed outboard.
That'll be all.
Chris, we've lost your WDS. Before you take the battery back, could you check the button?
Sure thing. Green light.
And we have your WDS back. Thanks, Chris.
All right.
And the crew has now removed the new lithium-ion battery from slot A and will now translate it back to the truss to install it in empty slot number 1.
All right, my wrist is going to run out of, and I've got control of the battery. You've got control. I have control ready to rotate. Just want to get it down below the P. Copy that. All right, I have control. You have the ret. Okay, I have control. You have control. I have the ret, and I'm going to come off my BRT. Copy that. I have control. You have control of the battery. Connector cap doesn't help. Oh, it doesn't. I have control. Do you have control of the battery? I have control of the battery. You have control of the battery. I have control of the battery. You have control of the battery. The little ones are barely enough room to put hands. Yeah, I have control of the battery. You have control of the battery. I have control of the battery. You have control of the battery. I have control of the battery. You have control of the battery. Evaluating it. I went up on top there to 2032. Yep, that's going. Yep. You have control of the battery. Copy, you have control of the battery.
I have control of the battery?
You have control of the battery. I have control of the battery.
You have control.
And the crew is now in process transferring that new lithium-ion battery from slot A back to the truss to install it in empty slot number 1.
So let's see. What's your next move?
My next move is probably for you to get to the, can you get to this handrail I've got my hand on right now?
Yeah, you still have control?
I still have control.
Okay, I have control.
Okay, and so at this point, you could get a ret on there.
Yep, alright, then you take control back.
I've got control.
Okay. I'm confirmed, readied.
Okay,
And I have control.
okay, I'm going to remove my ret.
I agree.
Okay, do you need to do anything before I ingress the APFR?
Bob, you just need to check that the gas spanner is clear of slot 1.
Okay, the gap spanner is clear of slot 1.
I don't know if I have the leverage to
Okay.
maneuver myself up. If you can take it.
I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. Both tabs are out. Grab onto this.
You'll continue to hear the acronym RET throughout the spacewalk today. RET stands for Retractable Equipment Tethers, and those RETs are used to hold varying equipment in place while the crew works through spacewalk procedures.
Good, nice, perfect.
Well, the gap spanner is clear. I'm ready to ingress the APFR.
Copy, Bob.
Probably have to just move the battery as you need to.
Am I putting your arm in a truss?
I'm still good.
Okay.
You got room?
And ingress.
Copy, Bob. If you can check your ingress gate is tucked and tethers are clear, then we'll take an inspection of the IA receptacle.
The ingress gate is tucked. The IEA receptacle looks clear. The pins are straight. No fog. The electrical connector looks good as well.
Copy.
Arms at a bit of singularity.
Okay, I have control.
You have control. Oh, okay.
And Bob, you'll want H2 inboard, and you want to inspect or present the battery, the bottom to Bob, or to Chris rather, for an inspection of the connector pin spot and EMI band.
I'll be right there, Bob.
Okay.
Let's see. Connectors have no fog. I can see the EMI band is intact. Pins look straight. Fins on the back, nice. Everything's good.
Copy, good inspection.
I've got control of the gap spanner. The gap spanner is free and clear.
Okay, Bob, you look to soft dock the battery onto H2 with H2 inboard.
Okay, I got the H2 inboard, and should we swap reps prior to that?
Yeah, you'll want,
Good if you just want to put it in there.
yeah, over to you.
Whatever you want, Bob.
Okay, I am ready to it.
You're ready to it? Copy that. Ready?
I believe we're a soft dock. It looks equal to me on both sides.
I agree. Looks straight and orthogonal.
Okay, great. Chris, you can transfer your PGT with a 6-inch to Bob. Bob, settings are alpha 7, clockwise 2.
Okay, alpha 7, clockwise 2.
Good settings. You'll be going to H2, confirm the socket tape line is flush, and drive 16 to 17 turns.
Okay, I'm on H2, tape line is flush, and 16 to 17 turns. Here we go.
There you go. Battery's going in.
Looks like it's going in smooth. The indicator was a little bit jumpy.
Yeah. Relative to the sun.
Approaching 2 hours into today's spacewalk, recapping some of the milestones so far, Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken placed their suits on internal battery power, marking the official start of today's spacewalk at 6:32 a.m. Central Time. The first nickel-hydrogen battery was released from slot number 1, and the crew worked together to move it over to the external pallet to install it in slot X for disposal. The crew then removed the new lithium-ion battery from slot A and translated it back to the truss, and they're now working to install that new lithium-ion battery in empty slot number 1.
Status indicator is locked.
Copy, locked. It'll be the same settings, alpha 7, clockwise 2 for H1. As I say that, we're 2 hours into the EVA. The limiting consumables MEDOX on both at 6:40, and you're 1 hour ahead of timeline.
Copy, Josh. Thank you.
Rick, I recognize that H1 is just captured on here. It's not locked. Could I pass you the PGT?
Yes, certainly.
And you just heard from Ground IV Jasmine Mugbelly, informing the crew that they are working about an hour ahead of schedule today.
H1 is verified locked.
Copy, Bob. So it'll be same settings, Alpha 7, clockwise 2 to H1, confirm the socket tape line's flush. You're driving 4 to 5.5 turns.
Okay, same settings, tape line is flush. Here we go. Indicators moving. About 4.5 turns. Indicator is just, the black line lines up with the lock on the indicator here, not the white line or the metal piece. Green light, 9.1 on the torque. Got it? Rick?
Got it.
Okay. Copy, Bob. You can hand that PGT back to Chris and release the RET from the scoop.
Rick has the PGT.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, Tommy. Okay, the RET is released from the battery.
Copy. With that, we'll start moving on to getting battery 2 to the EP alpha slot. So, Bob, you'll be relocating the APFR to WIF 26. It'll be a clocking of 12. And Chris will have you relocate those 2 scoops down 1 to battery 2.
Okay. Okay, I'll egress the APFR.
H1 clock, scoop clock in.
For battery 2, it'll be 2 o'clock, down and slightly to the right.
Okay, that is in and clocked at 2 o'clock, and I can visually confirm that.
And the new lithium-ion battery from slot A has now been installed in slot number 1. The crew will now work to remove the battery in slot number 2 and translate over to the external pallet.
And for the scoop to H2, it'll be at the 3 o'clock, straight down.
Roger.
As I am tethered to the APFR, going to release it.
H2, 3 o'clock straight down, confirmed locked, good wiggle, the scoop.
Okay, Chris, with that, you can retrieve the ratchet wrench and position yourself, we recommend, on the outboard edge of the IEA to assist with PGT ops. And if you want to check that gap spanner's clear of slot 2 and as well, that would be great.
Okay, the gap spanner's clear.
Okay, so as the APFR is relocated to WIF 26, black on black, good pull test, good twist test, and And the pitch nod is verified out.
Copy, and settings 12, Quebec, Juliet 12.
12 on the clocking, Quebec. Coming to Juliet now on the roll.
Copy.
And H1 torque is broken.
Copy, Chris. And you can move on to H2.
Juliet 12 is set. I'm going to release my ret from the APFR.
Copy, Bob. And once you do that, you can ingress the APFR, make sure the ingress aid is tucked, and your tethers are clear, and then we'll take the serial number.
H2 torque broken, serial number 0076.
Copy H2, and good serial number. Thanks, Chris.
Bob, if you agree, I'm going to not go to the outer edge, kind of hang over here.
Okay,
Do you think? Travels?
I think it's going to be fine for you.
Yeah, I think so too.
Most important thing is for you to get a good stable position.
Yep. And I've got a BRT. Based on our knowledge now of your APFR, we don't have to hop around it. I'm going to stay up here a little high.
Okay.
And we'll see if you can get on the other side of it.
And Bob, just ensure you have a ret to H2.
Will do.
Hold the PGT.
I've got it.
Yeah.
I am ready to H2.
Okay, copy. I see you've got the PGT. Settings are Alpha 7, counter 2.
Alpha 7, counter 2, H1.
Hold on, it's stuck on the PGT battery. There we go.
Confirm.
Here's the battery.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just saying, yep, H1. You'll confirm socket tape line flush and looking to release with about 8 turns.
Copy. Not the best look on that.
Yeah.
Okay, the socket line is flush. Alpha 7, counter 2 for H1. Here it comes. Indicators moving. It's popped out and unlocked at a little over 5. So I put 8 turns into it. The indicator shows unlocked.
Copy. Same settings for H2, Alpha 7, counter 2. You'll confirm the socket tape line flush and release H2 approximately 19 turns.
Okay, here comes 19 turns on H2. The tape line is flush. Indicators moving.
I see the battery jacking up.
I agree.
Again, the crew is now working to remove the battery in slot number 2 and will then translate over to the external pallet.
There's 19 turns. The indicator shows beyond unlocked. I didn't quite have the same feeling of it being all the way loose and jumping, but got the PGT? I have the PGT.
Okay, copy, and just a heads up, you're going into a day pass in about a minute.
Okay, I'm going to configure my visor then before I pull the battery out. Thanks for that call.
And the battery has officially been removed from slot number 2.
Alright, let's see. Trying to assess how big of a reach, which scoop I want.
I'm tethered to H2, so I kind of need to give you H1.
Okay.
Which is the far one, so I have to pull it out and spin it.
Alright, I think I'm gonna good config. DRT. I think my cutter can't be on the gap spanner. Is that true, Gap does?
Yeah, A-firm, and you'll want to make sure any fair leads are released.
No fair leads exist. And, alright. I'm ready, Bob.
Here we go. Yeah, not much of a salt talk on this one.
And Bob, you'll want to hand off H1 to Chris.
Copy.
I have control.
That's you put a red on it.
Alright, you take control back.
I've got control.
Here's my ret. And I have control.
Okay. You have control. I'm going to release my ret.
Roger.
Okay. Let it egress the APFR.
Copy that.
Right, it's just like Jaws predicted.
Yep, there it is. And a max reach here.
Okay. I have the battery.
You have the battery. Local tethered. Better want myself. You want me to go a little bit farther?
Yeah, can you do one more?
Yeah.
Just go ahead and hold. Can you take control for a second?
I have control.
And I'll just move to the other side of the APFR.
There you go.
Yeah, I have control.
Have control. I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery.
It's a hash marked one, careful.
Okay.
Yep, that's secure, nice.
I have control of the battery.
You have control of the battery. I have control of the battery. Copy. A little wonky wrist angle here.
Okay. Yeah, I have control of the battery.
Okay, you have control of the battery. I have control of the battery. Copy.
I have control of the battery.
You have control. Okay, I'm even with the APFR. I have control of the battery.
Copy. You have control of the battery.
Make it to your BRT spot.
I think I can
Take a little bit.
Further there, but I might need to.
A little bit more for the BRT.
Yeah.
And we're in a short handover period between satellites right now, but should be regaining these communications here shortly. For size reference on the batteries and adapter plates the crew will be handling today, the adapter plate is 40 inches by 37 inches by 8 inches with a mass of 75 pounds. The nickel hydrogen batteries being replaced today are 40 inches by 37 inches by 19 inches with a mass of 364 pounds. And the new lithium-ion batteries are 40 inches by 37 inches by 19 inches with a mass of 428 pounds.
Okay, I have a ret on the battery. Let me get it so that it's retracting. Okay, I'm ready and I have control of the battery.
You have control. I'm removing my ret.
That's good.
My ret is removed. And you're ready, Bob. I'll get in the APFR.
I am ready.
And Chris, while you work that, I have one caution for both of you if you're ready.
Ready.
When braking
That would be
torque,
helpful, Rick. I'm sorry, Jaws. Could you pause for a second, Jaws? Chris, could you move your waist tether, like, fairly a little bit?
The waist tether.
I'm sorry, your safety tether.
See here.
Yeah, you kind of were taking mine with you at the same time, so that's what I was seeing. Okay, it's in a good config.
Is it? Looks like it's wrapped around my leg.
Yeah, take both your legs forward, and you'll be clear.
clear. Roger.
Sorry, Jaws.
No worries. And Chris, also a reminder that you wanted to make sure your access to the Ratchet wrench and PGT were good as you ingressed.
Great reminder.
And for that caution, when braking torque, apply less than 55 pounds force. How copy?
55 pounds of force. Less than. Okay, if fuel go in.
There you go. Look into me.
Look into you. And I'm preparing my wet.
Okay, Chris, just a reminder to check your ingress aids tucked, tethers are clear, and you're going to end up with your BRT ret to the battery tether point.
Okay. I'm going to take the workstation for just a second. Okay.
And Chris Cassidy is now set up in his foot restraint. He will then place the battery from slot number 2 on his BRT, or body restraint tether. Cassidy will then release the adapter plate underneath the battery and will remove the adapter plate and hand it over to Behnken. Behnken will then translate back to the truss to install the adapter plate in open slot number 2. At the same time, Cassidy is putting the old battery in the slot he had just emptied for disposal.
Chris, you want H1 stowed in your BRT.
Okay, copy.
And Chris, just go ahead and move a little bit further away from the tower there. If you could, your ingress aid probably could be maybe a little stuck. Pull it back. Pull the battery back.
Alright, battery's coming back.
Okay. Just gently nudging the RU back over the top. Yeah.
Okay.
You're clear.
Alright, John, so let me start back up with you and talking about the BRT. Review those steps, please.
Yay from Chris. So your BRT ret should be to the battery tether point, and you want H1 stowed in your BRT.
Okay. Working on the ret.